Hello everyone and welcome to Talking Good Game. It's a match preview of Brentford against West Ham United. We're leaving the Europa League for a few days anyway and getting back to the Premier League business as West Ham look to secure a top 6 place in the Premier League. However, looks like Brentford have all but secured a place in the Premier League next season. But Gonzo, as always, can you kick us off with your thoughts on our opponents, please?
This team have provided me with my favourite moment of the season thus far, which is clearly the Christian Eriksen story, which is quite lovely. And my favourite moment was when Brandon Williams had a little set two with Christian Eriksen, and it looked like he was ready to thump him. They fell on the ground. He realised it was Christian Eriksen. Clearly thought, "Oh my goodness, this geezer's just had a heart attack." And he gave him a cuddle. And I actually thought it was lovely. Just a really, really lovely moment. I also think it's quite remarkable that they've it's not remarkable. It's they've done well to stay up and actually stay out of that conversation. They've never been in the conversation for relegation, Geo. They really haven't. And but I do feel that the Christian Eriksen coming back has been a massive catalyst for them. But in all honesty, I can't bloody stand them. You want me to?
You're gonna have to continue that. You can't just say that and leave it there.
I've got to say, right, this season has been a bad season for cheating. It absolutely has, and this preview's come at bad times. We've just seen it with Lyon. We had massive doses of it against Aston Villa, but where it really, and I thought the Southampton game was bad as well, where they beat us. I didn't realise this game was so bad. I'm talking about the October game when West Ham played Brentford, was so bad. It had me scratching around for statistics. It felt wrong. It felt bad. It didn't feel like football, basically. And it felt like the ball was always out of play. They killed the game stone dead, pretended to be injured a lot. We're happy for the ball to go out of play. It was bad. It was cynical. It was horrible to watch. It wasn't entertaining. So I went and did some research at the time. How long was that ball in play? Do you know how long the ball is you generally in play for in a Premier League match? Do you know?
About 65 minutes, maybe.
No. That's the very top. When Man City are passing it about, I've got 75% possession all game. You'll get one that's mid-60s. The average for a Premier League game is 55, 56 minutes ball in play. Pretty shocking, really, isn't it? Really, considering this was a record breaker. I didn't realise at the time. It was a record breaker. In October, West Ham beat Brentford. The ball was in play for 41 minutes. 41 minutes. And I just found it really hard to actually then sort of enjoy what they were doing. I just thought it was spoiling tactics. In between the spoiling tactics, they play good football. They've got to do what they've got to do to stay up. But I can't. It's really hard to... It's hard to respect them when they're cheating like that, basically.
I was pleased when they got promoted, Brentford. I really was, because for those that watch this channel for longer than a few weeks will know that I like my stats, I like numbers, I like data in football. I don't think it's end all and be all in football, but I think it's important. And I think it sometimes gets played down by some people, which is fine, that's your opinion. But what Brentford did was almost give me a bit of evidence that actually data in football is good to use, because Brentford were based on numbers. Their whole blueprint was based on stats and stuff. So when they got promoted, I thought, excellent, there we go. There's my little bit of evidence. I'm gonna use Brentford as an example forevermore. They could go down next season, and in 10 years, someone says stats mean nothing. I say, oh, do you not remember 2021, 2022 when Brentford got promoted in the summer and stayed in the Premier League? Stats worked back then, didn't it? So anyway, I've got my thing. But also, they played good, attractive football, and I actually thought they'd struggle a little bit this season. I'll be honest with you, I got Brentford wrong, because I thought they'd score goals, but I thought they'd concede a lot of goals as well, and therefore they'd be in trouble. But I agree with you, they've never really looked like getting relegated. They had a little bad spell over the Christmas period in that they were not in great form, and I remember them drifting a little bit towards the bottom of the table. The bottom of the table, towards the relegation zone. Never entered it or anything like that. Got enough results, and obviously they won 3 of the last 4 as well, including thumping Chelsea last weekend. So that's them practically assured their Premier League safety for next season. And it's a wonderful thing what they've done, actually. It's a well-run club. It's a small club in relative Premier League sizes. And what they've done is nothing short of miraculous. And in recent modern Premier League history, it's up there with like what Bournemouth did as well. And I hope that they can go on and stay in the Premier League. And they've impressed me this season when I've watched them. And I have to confess that the one team in the Premier League that I would have liked to have seen more of. I just haven't watched them as much as I thought I would. I don't even know why. Is Brentford just not on TV or something? I don't know why I've not seen a lot of Brentford. At the start of the season, I feel like I watched the first 7 games or something. And since then, I think I've seen them about twice. I don't know what happened. I don't know. So I can't tell you too much about them, really. I would have liked to sat here and say that I like this player and that player. I've got 1 or 2, but it's based on very limited viewing of them. Anyway, Gonzo, are they, to some extent, having the most impressive season out of all the Premier League teams? 7 games to go. They're 9 points ahead of the relegation zone. The other 2 teams that came up are down at the bottom.
Yeah, I want to separate the game management, if you want, from the way the clubs run. Little fact. My great uncle was a Brentford director. There you go. Yeah, there you go. So, far from me disliking the club, far from it. I can't stomach the way they play, and a large part that's going to come from the manager. I know Dean Smith. I know it's said anyway, whatever. But actually, the way they run the club, and you've referred to it, it's this money ball model as well. Actually, the infrastructure, the way they buy players, the way they identify players, is actually remarkable, and it's a huge success, and it's actually the blueprint of how you do it without spending a lot of money. When you go and look at that basket case of a club, which is Derby County, and what they've gone and done, and they tried to throw money at it, and the former owner tried to pretend he didn't own the ground, then buy the ground back and then sell it, and do all these smoke and mirror things to try and generate more money and to throw money at it. We've seen numerous clubs in the Championship throw money at everything. This is a club that had a footballing vision, a club vision, and it's worked. I mean, it's worked tremendously well. And I'm not sure. I am sure, actually. I think they'd have succeeded without the play acting. I think they would have done, because I think their recruitment and their philosophy is that good. I really do. I think some of the players that they get in, the Ericsson one is a genius master stroke, really. And you've seen it. You've already seen that before. This season with Coutinho came in at Aston Villa, it gave them a really nice boost, which has worked well for them. I feel that that Ericsson is the new Coutinho in that sense, in terms of a catalyst for that. I just think they're really, really good at what they do, and I really like seeing a smaller club do well and come in and thrive. And I just think it's important for maybe some of the medium-sized clubs that think it's just going to chuck money at it. Everton would be a good case in point, Geo. Look at what Everton have done and mess they're in, because their answer to everything in the last few years has been money. Whereas you look at Brentford now, I think, no, actually, streamline, management, identification, recruitment, new stadium, which is great ground, by the way, as well. So, yeah, fair play to him, mate. A real success story.
And the Brentford fan as the owner too. He's gone in there. It's built with love. He's used his own money, obviously, but it's one with love and belief in his blueprint. May it long continue. Anyway, a couple more questions about Brentford before we do. This video sponsored by the One Football Fan. Listen, Brentford fans, you better love your data. You better love your stats. Your club is built on it. Well, you can get a little insight into your club stats using One Football app, as can West Ham fans, but we tend to use it to keep up with the transfer rumours, because there's loads of them, as well as injury news, because there's always injuries as well at West Ham United. But it's the best way to keep up to date with your club, regardless of who you support. The fantastic football app for the football fan. Link in the description and the pinned comments, and it's completely free. Absolutely free. It doesn't cost you anything. Nailed. You don't even have to sign up, but it still remembers who you support. Clever like that, isn't it? Anyway, links in description and pinned comments. Get downloaded to your device today, and at 1 o'clock on Sunday, you'll get a notification that says, excuse me, the Brentford West Ham team's out. You click it. There you go. Both teams. Boom. Simple as that. Gonzo, next season, let's look ahead and assume that Brentford are going to be the Premier League. I think it's a fair assumption. That's why I was trying to lead you down the garden path a little bit. I think they're the most impressive team this season in regards to, what is it, 7 games to go. I think they're pretty much safe. 9 points ahead of Burnley. Remarkable. I think they've done absolutely fantastic. So I'm already looking ahead at Brentford being in the Premier League next season. I think it almost gets more difficult in your second season. I think there's a bit more of an expectation on you. I think your summer transfer window gets a little bit more difficult as well, because you're now looking at your team thinking, right, we need to upgrade this 1 or 2 players, but now you're buying Premier League caliber players. And we've seen with Brentford that they can buy players to get them out of the Championship, but what we haven't seen is they can invest in the right players to keep them in the Premier League. I'm aware they stayed in the Premier League this season, but I think it's a bit trickier now this summer. I think that actually this summer is probably going to be more important than last summer, and next season is going to be more difficult. So is it just a case of Brentford remaining in the Premier League season for another couple of years, getting the money under the belts and just trying to become a bit of a, I don't know, I wouldn't necessarily say an established Premier League club, but certainly moving in that direction?
Yeah, I feel that they may want to do a Crystal Palace in that sense. Crystal Palace has always been up and down. Crystal Palace now been in the Premier League for 6, 7, 8 seasons. I don't know, something like that. You're now looking like an established Premier League team, and that's really what Brentford need to do. I'm pretty sure they'll be able to bring the right players in. I would imagine they have a scouting dossier that West Ham can only dream of. This is what West Ham are trying to do. Do not be surprised if Brentford have 10 players already scouted for every position. They will have. That's just the way they do business. And it's very effective, by the way. The money coming in is really an important factor because their biggest challenge is not going to be anything we've mentioned. Their biggest challenge, because they've been used to fattening players up and selling them for 30 million. They've got to buy players for 30 million. But that's not their biggest problem. The biggest problem is wages. Because now they've actually, as not only a championship club, but a championship club that hasn't got the prestige of Nottingham Forest or someone like that, players would sign for them for minimal wages. There'll be players there now who are still on minimal wages, but they're on their championship contracts, which would have involved, if you get to the Premier League, you can have 10 grand a week more or something like that. But there's going to be nobody in that club on 60, 70, 80 grand a week that's what players are going to want when they want to sign for them now. And that's the point.
Or renew.
Or
if Ivan Toney needs a new contract, he's going to say, well, I'm now a Premier League striker.
And he is an effective one as well. And he is absolutely going to be able to say that. And it doesn't matter whether or not they don't want to sell. You're in a position where he might force through a move. We use him as an example. I'm not saying he's disruptive and would do that. But if, let's say, well, all right, we've used Aston Villa. I know Aston Villa have got plenty of strikers. If Aston Villa wanted to buy him, they already bought Watkins. It's not just Brentford saying no. It's Aston Villa saying, well, we'll give you 100 grand a week. Well, it ain't no good if Brentford are saying, well, hold on, to keep a wage cap, we still want our wages to be 35 grand a week maximum. That just is not going to work for them in any way, shape or form. And also, people are not going to sign for them now as they would have done, even these 10 players for every position. They want to go and get a new right back. Any of these 10 players on there that would have possibly signed from 15 grand a week as plucky underdogs in the championship are now going to be looking at them and thinking, oh, you're a mid-table Premier League team. We'll have 60 grand a week, please. Thank you very much. And that's probably going to be where their next challenge lies, but I'm sure they're prepared for it.
Anyway, players they might get, Gonzo, to players they've currently got. Who do you admire? Admire?
I'd like the it's a centre-back Danish. Is he Danish? Got a Danish centre back. Yeah, he's good. You mentioned Tony. Tony's really good, but I like the other one. I like the one that plays next to him, the hairy one, the short hairy one with a beard.
BREWHU.
Yeah, he's really good.
He's got the world's smallest shin pads.
Has he?
His socks are always like round his ankles.
Maybe he's just got really big shins, but standard size shin pads. I think they sold Ben Rama. And got someone better in him, basically. So, I think he's really, really good, actually. Eriksen, I've already said what I've got to say about Eriksen. I think it's tremendous, really. And I am actually, whilst I am annoyed, and they've annoyed me with their play acting and all the rest of it. And I think it's not just us, by the way. I had a little look. It happens quite a lot. And I think you asked a question about why they don't feature much on telly. If the ball... It ain't a great watch unless you're a Brentford fan. And I do, as much as I'm annoyed about that, it's hard not to warm to that story with Eriksen. It was a massive shock that went through football at a time when, when everyone needed a good news story in football because of all the lockdown, everything that preceded it. Everyone was very worried about Eriksen. So see him come back, not just play, but play well. He's scoring goals, and not just for Brentford, by the way. For Denmark, he's been brilliant, scoring good goals, really quality goals. I think is absolutely brilliant, and I think that's really good news for football. Really good news for Brentford. I don't know what the deal is today. If it was just from now until the end of the season, is it? They're going to need to sort that out. They're
I
going to
hope
need to sort
Ericsson.
that out.
I hope Ericsson shows loyal. Assuming
So do
Brentford
I.
give him a new deal, I hope Ericsson says, "Yep, I'll take that." And this goes back to what we were just discussing, where now they stay in the Premier League. Ericsson's like, "Well, I've shown you I can do it for 6 months. I could have a few extra." Ericsson's now got a bit of sex appeal to other clubs now. So the clubs like West Ham, for example, might have been like, "Oh, I'm not sure about him." He's now turned up in the Premier League. He said, "I can still do it in the Premier League." He's now more appealing to other more established Premier League clubs, richer Premier League clubs that didn't take essentially the punt on Christian Eriksen at Brentford. And I just hope Eriksen stays with Brentford, assuming they want him. I think Janssen's been one of the most important signings in recent seasons as well. I think he's impressed me a lot in the Premier League. He's always sort of destined for the Premier League. He's someone I wouldn't minded at West Ham in the last couple of seasons, but he's come in, fit in there. Ray, I like the look of him at the start of the season. Then when he was out injured, I think Brentford's form dipped a little bit. But like I said, I haven't watched Brentford too much. I think Janelt reminds me a little bit of like almost a situation you can find yourself in when you're a Championship club coming up to the Premier League, where the guy Janelt in this occasion for me is I don't think he's quite Premier League quality. I certainly wouldn't have him at West Ham. But his work ethic and the fact that he just fits what Brentford want to do and how they want to play makes him almost like undroppable at that club. It's like, how do you replace these players that just fit what you want to do? They buy into what the manager wants to do. But perhaps in terms of ability, they're maybe not quite as good as other clubs around you in the Premier League. I think that's a challenge Brentford have got. And obviously, their front two impressed me as a partnership. I've seen them individually without each other this season. And I've seen Tony go missing in plenty of games. As while he's looked good and he's impressed me a little bit in the Premier League, I've also seen other games where he just looks like he can't be arsed sometimes. And the same goes for BREWHU when he's been up front without Ivan Tony, when they've got Wissa up there. Yeah. It just doesn't quite click. But them two as a partnership, well, they tore us to bits at the London Stadium between the pair of them. Their physicality, their pace, their directness. And that's a cause for concern going into Sunday's game. But anyway, enough about Brentford. Let's talk about West Ham. Gonzo, obviously, we've got Brentford on Sunday. We've got Lyon on Thursday in the quarterfinal of the Europa League. I guess the big question is, will we rotate? Is there any players that we need to look after? Let's get straight into it, though. Lucas Fabianski back in goal for you?
No, not really.
No?
No, I don't. No, I don't think so. Look, Fulham are sniffing around Areola. We got to be really careful the way West Ham do business. I think and I've thought this for all season, as you know. I thought we've had our sights set on Sam Johnson. I think we're a little bit too cocky sometimes that we're going to get a player and they might just go elsewhere. We've seen it numerous times. Fulham are sniffing around Areola. I want us to make it permanent. I want him to be our goalkeeper, and I think we have. It's not just signing him is only half of it. In terms of paying the money, I think we have to convince him that we want him to be our number one goalkeeper. So I'd like it to happen between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I mean, we did the player ratings earlier today from the game against Lyon, and I just said to you, I just feel more comfortable with Areola on goal. I just feel he looks like he's a foot taller than Fabianski. The pass backs, I just feel comfortable with him getting the ball at his feet. His distribution, I think, is more accurate and quicker. But I think I feel harsh on Fabianski. Thought against Everton last week, I don't think he did anything wrong. Fabianski, I think he had a relatively okay game, so I can understand why Moyes would play either or in this one. I would just go with Fabianski, almost just for keeping Fabianski happy, I guess, to some extent. Now, moving into the defence, I guess this is where it gets interesting. Because Soufal's back, but he's not back. Ben Johnson a little bit more back than what Soufal is. We've also got Ryan Fredericks in good form at the minute. 2 good games he's had back-to-back now. Then we've got the centre-backs. Issa Diop was in good form. We've not really seen him. But is Dawson and Zuma okay to play again? How would you like to line up at the back, please?
Well, I don't really care how they do it, but Soufal needs a half because Soufal needs to get to match sharpness because he needs to play on Thursday, which we'll deal with in the preview for that. So I don't know how they want to cut and slice that first half or second half. I would not be adverse to Johnson playing one half and Soufal playing the other, because Cresswell can play all game because obviously he's banned, so he's not going to feature midweek. The centre-backs, I'd keep building on that partnership. I think it's a remarkable partnership. Dawson, he don't care. He don't care. He can play. He's not everyone that particularly looks tired and all the rest of it. He don't do much anyway. Just stands at the back and stops anyone else attacking, really, doesn't he? Zuma, with every game, he gets better at left centre back, I feel. And it's a partnership. I don't want to break that partnership up.
Yeah, I would break it up for this one because we're led to believe Dawson's has been injured for periods of this season. He's been playing through his injury. I think I'd almost wrap him up and cut him wool a little bit, Dawson, and I would play Sufal right back just for the match sharpness purpose here, which is so that we've got an option on Thursday. So if we want to put Sufal in, he's not playing his first game since his injury. So I'd play Sufal, Diop, Zuma, and Aaron Creswell for the reasons you've given, which is, well, there's no point resting him, is there? He's missing for Thursday. And that's why I'd keep Ben Johnson out, because we will need him for Thursday night, whether it's left back, possibly right back. We will need Ben Johnson somewhere in the team. So I'd be looking to keep Dawson and Johnson out of the team. But, well, actually, I've got a little bit of rotation further up. How would you like the midfield to look, Gonzo?
I'd play with Declan Rice and Mark Noble in the middle for this one. You're nodding. You've obviously thought the same thing that I have. Souček needs a rest. I don't have him on the bench, and I wouldn't be averse to bringing him on. There's nothing wrong with Souček for 20 minutes, particularly if we're chasing a goal. But he's had a lot of football, a lot of international football, a lot of club football. So get him on the bench, mate.
Yeah, I completely agree. I would play Mark Noble inside Declan Rice as well, just for the purpose of resting Souček, because Thursday was a slog for him as well. It wasn't just that he's just played 90 minutes. He's had to battle for 90 minutes off the back of, really long internationals with the Czech Republic as well, playing extra time in one of those fixtures too. So I'd have him out there. But I'd like to see Lanzini come back in. David Moyes has done his press conference today, and he's not giving much away with Lanzini, as he never does. He basically said that he's feeling it a little bit from his car crash, but he might be okay. So that's the most David Moyes thing you'll ever get. So I'm unsure if he's fit or not, but I would like to get him back into the team, because while he's been injured, it's not the same injuries, say, what Jared Bowen's had. He's had a bruised hip, apparently, and that's it. So I'd get him back in for this one. We've got him back for Thursday night as well. So I'd like to see Lanzini play, well, ideally, 180 minutes across both games for this one. So I'd get them there. But also because Brentford play three centre midfielders, and while they may not be the greatest trio in the Premier League, I'd like to put three in there, because I'm not forgetting the London Stadium. They beat us fair. Gonzo will say they didn't beat us fair and square at the London Stadium, but they beat us in terms of the way that they set up, the way they went about their game when the ball was in play for 41 minutes, the way that they were direct. They had that three men in midfield, and it caused us problems. I don't want to really walk into the same trap for this one, so I'd like to see Noble, Lanzini, and Rice in midfield. You've got an additional player then, so give me your attack and go for the rest of your four, please.
What do you mean I've got an additional player?
Because you've got Rice and Noble. You haven't given me your...
Oh, right. Well, Lanzini as well, obviously. No one ever said, because Lanzini wasn't driving that car. Everyone was kept on saying, oh, it's walk out of it. It was a bad smash. Miraculous, he's walked out of it, but the chauffeur was driving. Did anyone know if the chauffeur was all right? There's no one ever said. I mean, could be Lanzini's all right, and the chauffeur's... Anyway, I don't know if it was a club chauffeur. Thank goodness he was in a proper car and not in one of those... it was in a proper car, basically, because it flipped over. So that's probably why he was all right. It wasn't in like a two-seater sports car or something. Lanzini's got to play, because until the end of the season, they're all cup finals for us. He has to play. There's, for me, little tweaks, like I mentioned, with the right back, and but that's with a view to going forward. More or less from now until the end of the season has to be the same team. Minor tweaks, like I've just mentioned, and Lanzini has been pivotal and crucial for us. And funny enough, I spoke about Eriksen. I felt Brentford started well, had a dip. He's come in and given them a catalyst, given them what they needed at that time. I feel Lanzini did that for us at a time when West Ham were going a little bit stale. He came in, didn't just come and do well. He actually came in and became one of our most important players, which is not an easy thing at West Ham. You've got players like Rice and Bowen and Zuma and Antonio to be one of the main guys. And Lanzini came and did that. He has to play.
Now you're the three then. I guess, well, let's start do them one by one. Would you have Jared Bowen in there? Because he is somebody that's just back after a bit of a naughty injury.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It was the heel, and it was bruising to the heel. So it's not like a fracture that's got a repair. As I understand it, it's not tendons. Rule those two things out. Is he going to inflame the bruising a little bit? Possibly, maybe every time he plays, but it's never going to be as bad as it was when he first did it. That's a manageable injury. Again, now until the end of the season, he's as important as anyone else in our team. He's as important as Declan Rice, Jared Bowen is to us.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm just trying to be awkward. He has to start. He has to. Without him in the team, our chances of scoring decreases drastically. It's as simple as that. Because if he's not scoring, he's sent it up. Jared Bowen's usually involved in our goal one way or another. He has to start this game, even if we take him off as a precaution with half an hour to go or something, assuming that we're winning at this point. He must start. It's a bit like the Everton game, essentially. Make sure you start with him. And hopefully you'll be in a winning position and you can get him off the pitch kind of thing. But Jared Bowen must start for me because the alternatives aren't good enough, regardless of what the alternatives are right now. So we've got, let's just say we have Antonio up front. We've got another winger. So if you didn't have Bowen, you'd have, say, Vlasic and Benrahma or Fornals and Benrahma. It's not good enough. That doesn't scream we are going to score 2 goals because I think we might have to score 2 goals on Sunday if we want to get 3 points. Jared Bowen in the starting 11 increases the likelihood of that happening by a country mile. Antonio up front, or would you be looking to rest him ahead of Thursday?
There's no resting. There's no resting. This is what it's all built towards. He didn't go on international duty. Great. They can't. There's no rest for these guys now. Go on.
He coped as well, didn't he, when we played Sevilla? But I was in the game between Aston Villa. He was fine in those 3 games as well.
And we didn't play 120 minutes against Olympique Lyonnais. Maybe we will in the next one, but that's not for this. It has to be our best team, and I'm sorry, it don't bode well for our previews for now until the end of the season because I'm going to be saying the same team almost every game. I hope I will because it means we don't have injuries, or maybe there might be some change in right back here or there. But more or less, it's really important. And Antonio is a vital part of our team.
Yeah, he has to start. I think he needs a goal as well. His performances are really good of late. He's just lacking the goal. That's all he's missing. And if we can get him firing, even between now and the end of the season, we can get him to score 4 goals, just 4. It could be massive. It won a goal every second game from him. It would be huge for us. So, yes, get him in there. Now, that leaves the left wing position. And I think we've got 3 players, essentially. Pablo Fornals, Said Benrahma, or Nikola Vlasic. I've got a feeling I know what you're going to do. Is it Fornals?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even close. We need to know what we're getting between now and the end of the season. I'm sorry, you just don't know what you're going to get if you play Vlasic or Benrahma on the pitch. You just don't know. You know what you're going to get with Fornals. We don't have a left winger. Geo, I've said this numerous times. We need to buy a left winger. We don't have one. So we've got 3 players who aren't left wingers all vying for the left wing position. So I know that, Fornals ain't a left winger. I know. But given the choice, I would put him in there because you just know what you're going to get.
I would play Vlasic for the reasons you wouldn't, because you don't know what you're going to get. I think the problem for me is if Lanzini's not fit on Thursday, let's just say he's not fit for Sunday, he's not fit for Thursday, that means Benrahma is likely to come in. And I'm that unhappy with Benrahma's performance against Lyon last night. I don't want to see him play next Thursday. So it's almost as a precaution in case Lanzini ain't ready enough, or Fornals picks up an injury, or Bowen picks up an injury against Brentford or training and he can't make Lyon next Thursday. I feel like we need to have an alternative to Said Benrahma. And that is Vlasic, I think. So I'd play him in this game, not with any confidence that he's going to do anything, more out of hope than anything, that he's just going to somehow click a little bit. But I just don't want to see Benrahma against Lyon. I thought he was awful last night. And I know you shouldn't really judge a player because of this, but I can't help it, right? But whenever West Ham score, Vlasic is jumping around as if he scored. Bowen scored against Lyon, and Vlasic went 2, 3, 4 yards forward, jumped up, punched there, ran up, jumped on the piley with Jared Bowen. So there's a guy that's just enjoying being at West Ham, that wants to do well at West Ham. And I would like to give him a bit of a chance for this one. And while we've just praised Brentford, the reality is, if he can't handle against Brentford Vlasic, then there's pretty much no hope for him, essentially. Then, the rest of the team around him is the first team players. He'd have Creswell behind him. He'd have Declan Rice to the side of him. He'd have Mikel Antonio ahead of him. So in the Europa League, I think you can make a few excuses for him to some extent, where we have rotated some players here and there, but we won't be on Sunday. So I put Vlasic in there. And if he can't make it work in that environment, then we've got a bit of an issue. But that's why I'd give him a chance, really. I'd just give him an opportunity, because I'd almost like to rest Fornals to some extent, because I wouldn't want to know the kilometres he clocked up against Lyon on Thursday. He was just incredible, and we're going to need that next Thursday. So I don't want to risk fatigue from Fornals, because his engine is crucial to us doing well. But anyway, we've got our starting 11s, Gonzo. It's just, you said it earlier, it's cup final after cup final, and it's difficult to switch off on the Europa League and focus on the Premier League and switch off and go back to the Europa League. But you've almost got to do it to some extent, because the reality is we're above Man United at the minute. We're sitting 6th in the Premier League, above Man United, and we've got a big game here to stay in control of 6 and keep top 6 in our hands.
It's massive. It's absolutely massive, and it's a test. I don't, for the reasons I can't sit here and say, the ball's only in play for 41 minutes and they continually do it. And then later on in the video say, oh, this is going to be a really tough physical examination. I can't believe both things. Actually, be a lot of time for the players to rest in this, because the ball will be out of play so often. What I do think the test comes, though, in the focus. It's so hard for any of us to focus on the league game, bearing in mind what's just happened, bearing in mind we're all excitable or worried or whatever it is. We're all emotional in one way or another about West Ham at the moment because of the European competition. So we're really hard for the players, for the management team to focus everybody on this game, because Brentford have been massively focused on this game. We've spoken about Brentford are not going to go down. We've spoken about money. Brentford will be as aware as anybody that every position they finish up in the Premier League incrementally is worth more money. I mentioned about the wages. One thing they will have done is they'll all be on more money, the players, for every position that they finish up in the Premier League. And no one's poor in that Brentford squad, but they're not multi-millionaires like most players in the Premier League. All right. An extra 100 grand each in their pay packets is going to be significant. That still sounds like silly money to you and I, but it is going to be significant to them. They're going to be right up for this. They're going to have a spring in their step following the Chelsea thing. And but this is massive. This is more important to West Ham than it is for Brentford. And we have to play like that.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually. But that's what makes it dangerous, because I think Brentford can play with freedom now. They're pretty much safe in the Premier League. There's no pressure. That pressure of relegation, while they've never been in a relegation battle exactly, that pressure will have still been there at the back of their minds. They would have still checked the Premier League table after every game, especially after every defeat. They've been looking to see how the rest of them would have been getting on, and they would have felt to. But only recently, while they're 9 points clear, 9 points have come in the last 4 games for Brentford. They won 3 of the last 4, including smashing Chelsea. But that's what makes them dangerous, I think, because there's now like shackles off. We can go out and enjoy ourselves. We're at home. Their fans will now know they're pretty much safe in the Premier League. It's cause for salvation to some extent. They can just enjoy the rest of the season. And that can be a worrying thing to some extent, where they can come out and play. They can just be a little bit more attacking than usual. Maybe the ball will still being played for a few minutes longer, Gonzo. They might be really adventurous on Sunday for you. But that's what could be troublesome for us. And it's a huge game. Obviously, Man United play before us on Saturday evening, although they are against Everton. So it's almost like a bye for Man United this weekend. But that will, if Man U win, that puts the pressure on us on Sunday. Saying, well, are you going to do the business and go back above Man U? We need to we need to get top 6 football this season, because we've all had a taste of European football. We still have it. We all want it again. We don't want to not have this next season. So Sunday is huge. But saying that, are you confident?
No, far from it. No. Far from it. No, not at all. Not even remotely. I'm actually more confident of beating Chelsea. I do think we'll beat Chelsea than I am of beating this mob. But if we don't beat this lot, it's all over, I'm afraid, for us. So in terms of the very top, I'm not saying we can't finish 7th or get the Conference League or anything like that. But if we can't lose this game, we cannot lose this. I just don't think we'll claw it back. So I think Arsenal, I think obviously Tottenham, I think we can do better than Man U, but we can't do that by losing games. And I also think it gives Wolves, if we lose, it gives Wolves a glimmer of opportunity as well, which we don't need to offer them. But no, I'm not confident at all.
I wasn't expecting that. I thought you were going to be confident for some reason. I'm relatively confident. I don't know why. I just feel I think it's because I was impressed by us last night against 11 men Lyon when we were down to 10. I thought there was a bit of resilience about us.
Yeah.
We played Aston Villa in between the two Sevilla games. I thought we were really good in that game as well. It did help that Villa turned up and they were poor, but we were good. We deserved that win on merit. We beat Everton and we deserved that win too. We're in good form at the minute, and it goes back to well before the international break. The only game that sticks out like a sore thumb is the Tottenham one, but we can put that down to fatigue and move on kind of thing. But fatigue's not an issue here, not yet anyway. It might be next weekend if we go to extra time against Lyon or that. But we can't have any talk of fatigue for this one. And Moyes has got some players at his disposal to rotate if need be to keep it fresh. He does have Soufal, he does have Diop, he does have Mark Noble, he does have Vlasic. Whether people rate him or not, we still spent north of 20 million, we've agreed a deal worth north of 20 million to bring him into this club. We've got Yarmolenko again. Okay, people might not be his biggest fan, but he scored a couple of goals for us recently. Got Ryan Fredericks in form-ish at right back. So Moyes got more options today than he did 2 months ago because of Yarmolenko and Ryan Fredericks. He's got more options now. So we can't have this Southampton thing that we did where we put out the first team and we just keep playing the first team till they're all shattered. So it's a huge game. We need to win. A draw is not good enough. A draw is not good enough on Sunday for us. We need to win this fixture. I'm not necessarily agreeing with you. I think when you thought about it, I think you realised you were perhaps a bit strong saying it's over if we lose, because I agree we won't catch Tottenham and Arsenal, but I think if we win, we still won't catch Tottenham and Arsenal. It's between us, Man United and Wolves. I think someone's getting someone's getting 6, someone's getting 7, and someone's getting 8 and nothing. It's between us 3. And at the minute, we're sort of at the top of the 3. And I agree with you. If we slip up on Sunday, it gives Wolves hope that they can go in and nick something from us. We cannot have no European football. So can I get any final words from yourself as well as your score prediction, please?
Yeah, it's just I look at. I think we've obviously played these guys once. I look at comparable teams who play in this style. Southampton, we lost to them. It was 3-2. Lot of time wasted. I don't think Leeds time wasted. I don't think Leeds.
I meant their direct style of play.
Right. No, I'm talking about the killing. The reason I say it is we like a bit of rhythm. We like the ebb and flow and the back and forth of game. That's when West Ham are at their best. Obviously, Olympique Lyonnais and Aston Villa. Look, we've only beat out of those games. We've only won one of them.
Only lost one.
We have, but yeah, we beat Villa. Beat Villa. We lost against Southampton and we lost against Brentford. And we've drawn against Olympique Lyonnais. So I think we find it tough. I think we're going to find it tough on this one. I think they're going to score because I just think Eriksen's in great form. I think their 2 forwards are really good. But I also think we'll score as well. I think it might be quite an open game. I think it might be 2-2.
I'm not as worried as you are. While they've won 3 of their last 4, I'm trying to think who the other result was. They beat Chelsea and they beat Burnley, but they got beat by Leicester. And Leicester are not great at the minute. It's a poor Leicester team that's gone and beat Brentford in there. And while I talk about them now being safe in the Premier League, that could create freedom. But also, if they got a goal down, do they have the motivation to get back into it like they might have done 3 months ago in the Premier League? I'm not too sure. I don't know. I've not seen enough of Brentford to say either way. And I guess I'm just being a bit hopeful and clutching to straws to suggest that we take the lead, we'll be all right and we'll see this one out. But I think we'll be fine. I think when they played us in October, I think they were better then to some extent. I think we were a little bit worse as well. So I think we've improved, and I think they've maybe not quite as good as they were back then. It's fresh, enthusiastic. So I'm feeling good for this one, Gonzo. I'm surprised you're going 2-2. I'm going to say, however, I do agree that both teams will score. So I'm going to say Brentford 1, West Ham United 2. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this period, drop a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. 2 o'clock kickoff on Sunday, which means we'll be live at 12:55. 5-1, we'll be live. We'll be taking a look at the Brentford team, West Ham team, have a little chat, putting a little bet on, hopefully winning some cash. So if you're not going to the game, do come back at 5-1 on Sunday afternoon and join us for the build-up. Until then, myself and Gonzo, we'll catch you in a bit.